Well, next today, the war in Ukraine is taking a heavy toll, not just on Ukraine, but all over the world. The disruption of the supply chain, blockades of Ukrainian grain exports have worsened hunger in some of the world's most vulnerable regions. Millions of civilians are unable to return home to Ukraine. Everyone wants to see productive discussions between Ukraine and Russia and a possible relaxation of this aggressive war. Well, the latest developments may provide a sense of hope to millions of people. In the latest, the Kremlin says that President Vladimir Putin is open to talks on a possible settlement to the conflict in Ukraine and believes in a diplomatic solution. The Kremlin comments come after US President Joe Biden suggested he was prepared to speak to the Russian leader. According to Biden, the only way to end the war in Ukraine is for Putin to pull troops out, and that if Putin is looking to end the conflict, then Biden would be prepared to speak to him. Biden also said the Russian president had miscalculated by invading Ukraine, but if that he's serious about getting out of the country, then he would be willing to sit down with Putin after consultation with NATO allies.
Look, there's one way for this war to end, the rational way. Putin to pull out of Ukraine, number one. But it appears he's not going to do that. He's paying a very heavy price for failing to do it, but he's inflicting incredible carnage on the civilian population of Ukraine, bombing nurseries, hospitals, children's homes. It's sick what he's doing. But the fact of the matter is, I have no immediate plans to contact Mr. Putin. Mr. Putin is, let me choose my words very carefully. I'm prepared to speak with Mr. Putin if, in fact, there is an interest in him deciding he's looking for a way to end the war.
Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also called on Russia's president to seek a diplomatic solution to the end of the war. He also urged the withdrawal of troops. Berlin says the two leaders spoke over the phone. The developments come as heavy fighting is underway in the east of Ukraine. Earlier, Putin had said he has no regrets about launching what he calls Russia's special military operation against Ukraine. Ukraine and the West say Putin has no justification for the war of occupation. Ukraine says it will fight until the last Russian soldier is ejected from its territory. Well, for more on this, we can speak to our correspondent Susan Turani, who's joining us live from New York City. Susan, the strongest signals yet that there could be possibility of talks happening in the future. What do you make of President Biden's comments?
Yeah, Nick, it was very interesting, and it came shortly and side by side, really, with the French President Emmanuel Macron, and shortly after that really long closed-door meeting between the two Western leaders. And, you know, one can't help but wonder whether or not Macron really expressed concern about the problems that Europe is facing right now with the long winter haul and energy supplies due to this Russian invasion on the one hand. And then on the other hand, we did hear immediately afterwards the Russian president come out and say that he's willing to negotiate, not on the terms of the West, but if, for example, if Joe Biden and the West agree to recognize territories, quote unquote, seized by Russia. You know, a lot of experts and analysts said that ultimately, if there is going to be some kind of ceasefire or a breakthrough, then those parts of the Donbass region will have to be up for negotiation and discussion. The likelihood that Putin and his forces will pull back is very unlikely. So we'll have to wait and see. But it does seem like there is a glimmer of hope, just because right now Europe is in an extremely tough situation regarding energy. On the one hand, as you rightly noted in your introduction, in the narration as well, that the energy crunch is real, food supply chain issues. And here in the United States, you know, it becomes a domestic issue. The Democrats are really feeling the heat as well. And then the money that's going into Ukraine, from Capitol Hill, that's coming up for discussion as well, with the Republicans taking over at least the House. So I think it was calculated, it was measured, the comments that Joe Biden was making.
Thank you, Susan. If you don't mind staying where you are, we're going to come back to you in a few minutes' time to speak about the next story.